event, which is entitled The Support of Medium-Sized Entrepreneurship, Social Cohesion in Action. It has been organized by the General Secretariat for the Partnership Agreement and the Hellenic Development Bank. We aim at promoting the supporting role of European funds for social cohesion by offering a holistic picture of all actions. We include two panels with very important speakers. The first panel is supporting the contribution of strengthening of SMEs and its contribution for regional development. We're going to talk about the actions of PA for the period 2021-27 in the various sectors. And the second panel will focus on social cohesion in practice, which will focus on the support of vulnerable groups, the support of business entrepreneurship, and the support of gender equality. Let's start with the opening addresses, and I would like to call to the podium the Minister of Economy and Finance, Mr. Kyriakos Pterakakis. It's a great pleasure and a great honor for me to be here with you to talk about this very important value of the Hellenic Development Bank and the PA and the development prospects of these instruments and how they contribute to the Greek economy. Let me start with the Hellenic Development Bank, which is not, of course, a competitor of the other banks. It's an institutional catalyst, support for the strengthening of funds and the support of a small and medium-sized entrepreneurship. The founding and operation of this bank was a response to a long-standing weakness, the difficulty of SMEs to have access to funding with favorable terms and conditions at very difficult periods of time when liquidity was reduced in Greek economy as a total. Through a modern framework of cooperation with other banks, the Development Bank safeguards funds, it invests and it adjusts instruments to the needs of SMEs. This is a successful effort which has to be further strengthened in the future, and I would like to congratulate everyone who has worked on these efforts. We all know that SMEs is the backbone of the Greek economy. They are over 85% of employment, but their dynamics can be even stronger if we support their access to sustainable funding. So this is the role of the Hellenic Development Bank, and it tries to activate available resources and become a bridge of trust between businesses and the rest of the banking system. And today we can firmly say that this is an instrument of exercising social policy, since we've channeled billions of euros to the real economy, small family businesses, SMEs, and other funds that support export activities. Its contribution to the economy focuses on more investment, more jobs, and more extroversion. Let me also talk about the contribution of PA, especially in the period 2021-27, which is the basic funding instrument for the country, with a budget of 26.2 billion euros, which supports development and green transition and digital transition. It supports small and medium-sized entrepreneurship through microfunding, mentoring, coaching, actions of social entrepreneurship, etc. It's not just a source of European funding. It's not just a big piggy bank. It's also a strategic plan a program which funds actions and programs which strengthen competitiveness and all strategic priorities of the Greek economy. Let me also underline how important it is that the management, together with the development fund and all those instruments, falls under the alternate minister of national economy and finance, Mr. Nikos Papathanasis, who has managed an important, a very significant feat. He has managed to organize everything so smoothly in a period that we have all these funding instruments at the same time. So if we focus specifically on the prospects of the Greek economy, we multiply the result. This is what Nikos has been doing so successfully with his team, and I would like to congratulate him given this opportunity. Today, under a different dimension of how you optimize the focus of your resources, we are going to hear the Prime Minister talking about in terms of reform and how we can focus these funds on a major reform in order to be able to support the middle class of the country. Congratulations, dear Nikos, and the whole team as well. I think we have a long way ahead of us with a focus on further development. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Minister, for your initial remarks. And now I'd like to call to the floor the alternate Minister of Economy and Finance, Mr. Nikos Papathanasis.
Κύριε Υπουργέ, κυρία Γενική Γραμματέα, κύριε Διοικητά του Ταμείου Ανάκαμψης.
Mr. Minister, Secretary General, Director of the Recovery Fund, CEO of the Hellenic Development Bank, Chairman of the Managing Authority, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, partners, and representatives of the European Commission, please allow me to welcome you to Greece, Thessaloniki, and also to thank you warmly for the excellent work that you do, supporting our efforts as a country to absorb all resources of the Recovery Fund. Ladies and gentlemen, I am in a very special position today to be able to talk to you about a very important developmental tool. And since the minister, Mr. Pierakakis, spoke about the effectiveness of the implementation of the programs, I would like to tell you that this is not, of course, done by a single person. It is only done through cooperation and partnerships on the level of ministers, the executives of the ministry, the Secretary General, the executives and employees of the ministry, the excellent collaboration we have with the representatives of the European Union, of the European Commission specifically, under all the terms that need to be adhered to in order for the programs to be implemented, and mainly in order to respect the European taxpayers' money. Since we are talking today about tools and programs which are in progress and they are paid for by certain European citizens, which means that it is our obligation to fully adhere with all regulations and rules so that the implementation of these programs is in line with the relevant rules. And of course, we are looking forward to the announcements of the Prime Minister, which are based on the impact these programs have on the economy, the fiscal progress of our economy. We have here also the Just Tradition Program Director, Mr. Kalidis. Hello to you as well. The progress of our economy pays a dividend because the dividend coming about from these programs is returned and should be returned to society. And since the goal of politics is to serve the needs of the citizens and of their daily needs, our obligation as ministers is to fulfill our commitments in the best possible way in order to maximize the dividend paid back through the absorption of these funds. Greece has ample funds available and has proven in the last 6 years that is not last in the list of European countries as it used to be in the absorption of funds. On the contrary, today Greece is in the top positions with regard to absorption of PA funds and in the disbursement of the recovery fund resources. And that is not achieved by chance, but it is a result of very hard work. So, in essence, we have three main funding tools: the national resources, and in order for these to come about, the economy has to operate effectively so that companies are supported in order to produce their share. We have the European resources that stem from the 21-27 programming period and the recovery fund. Right now, we are at the heart of the programming period, and we are currently facing a large number of challenges, mainly involving the best way to distribute these resources through the most suitable programs and targeted actions aiming at our economy. For the first time, this government put together a national plan with specific pillars and axes in order to do so. And these pillars and axes are a full match with the pillars and axes of the PA, the Recovery Fund, and the national resources. It is also not by chance that in 2025, the public investment program, which amounts to 14.6 billion euros this year, in 2019 it was 5.4 billion euros, which means that it is increased by 175%. And in 2026, it will amount to 16.9%, which means that compared to the 5.4 billion of 2019, it is increased by 212%, which means that some people carried out the best negotiations and did their work as they should. We wouldn't be able to speak today of the programs operated by the Hellenic Development Bank, the programs which are in operation in order to support companies, if there wasn't a specific fiscal route and a government and a prime minister who has understood and knows how to negotiate and secure resources for all these programs, such as the flyover in Thessaloniki, the metro, which has operated in the city, and a flagship project for Thessaloniki, which is the Theagenion Hospital. This is indeed a flagship hospital, not only for Thessaloniki, but the whole of Greece, northern Greece specifically, and for the Balkans also, with a total capacity of 495 beds that will be funded through the public investment program. Right now, in total, within the framework of the competitiveness operation program, we have 13,500 plans in process, 7 calls, such as the green productive investment, digital transformation, green transformation, establishment and operation of new SMEs. We are particularly focusing on small and medium-sized entrepreneurship. Why? Because although Greece went through a very intense financial crisis, we, as a result, are lagging behind with regard to the formation of fixed capital, but we are taking quick steps. We have managed to raise investments from 2019 from 11% to 13.5%. We are now still 5.5 points lower than the EU average, which is 21%, but we are constantly gaining ground with a development of 2.3%, a rate of growth 2.3%, when the average in the Eurozone does not exceed 1.2%. And in 2025, our growth rate is once again expected to be 2.3%. That is more than 2.5 times higher than the EU average. So we are gaining ground. We are adhering to the fiscal rules. We are a country that does so strictly when contrary winds may blow in the EU, and the crisis has led to major problems in other major economies such as France, what our government is supporting and will continue to support. We have here representatives of the relevant departments, and they were presenting the relevant programs. So what I want to do is to set the political framework. Our government is committed to safeguarding citizens and jobs so that young people in the of tomorrow can find jobs, have a secure and stable basis, and the hope that we are a serious government, a serious country, providing stability in a difficult geopolitical area, and even more importantly, a country that is moving ahead very rapidly in progress. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alternate Minister. Before we move on to our following presentations, I would like to show you a video which shows the support of the PA to the citizen, to entrepreneurship, and to our daily lives. Let's watch the video.
From time in life's rough storm.
Η Ελλάδα προχωρά μπροστά.
Greece moves forward with the PA projects. We change the present and we shape the future. Knowledge and innovation open new ways forward for a green and environmentally sustainable development. We try to have a sustainable environment for the future generations. We improve transports, infrastructure and new technologies facilitate our daily life and create opportunities and new jobs. We strengthen social cohesion. We support those who need us more in health, in education, in the daily lives of all. Greece develops everywhere, from the smallest island to the most mountainous village. We improve the quality of life for all. We strengthen links, and we connect Greece with neighboring countries. PA is an investment in today and the founding rock for tomorrow. It's people and opportunities for a better future. PA 2021-2027, we invest today, we shape the future. Entrepreneurial support and social cohesion in action. PA with the co-funding of the EU. Now I would like to call to the podium the Secretary General for the PA, Ms. Vasiliki Pantelopoulou. Good morning, everyone. Dear Alternate Minister, dear Secretary Generals, dear CEOs, chairpersons of the Hellenic Development Bank, dear representatives of the European Commission, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. I would also like to welcome you to this joint event organized by the General Secretariat of the PA and the Hellenic Development Bank, and thank you all for your presence here. It's an honor to be present here in the International Trade Fair of Thessaloniki, in this very alive city that has, through time, expressed innovation and extroversion. This event has been organized in cooperation with the Hellenic Development Bank, since we share at the level of planning and operational implementation the management of resources for the social life of the city at the level of entrepreneurship through the support of SMEs, and at the level of strengthening social cohesion through specific social actions, which will be discussed in the relevant panels in the following hours. We are now in the middle of the programming period, and Greece is steadily at the first three positions among the EU member states in terms of absorbing PA funds from the beginning to the present. This shows the systematic effort that has been made by all involved parties in the management of these funds, and it also means that we translate EU funds into daily actions and daily works that improve our daily lives. Our first topic will focus on the support of regional development and how this is supported by the PA projects. The support of SME entrepreneurship is one of the basic fields of the PA programming period, and it is actualized through actions that focus on three levels. First, regional programs, which take 8.2 billion. Over 940 million euros is for the support of SME entrepreneurship. Second, through support by the sectoral programs, a total budget of 18.1 billion euros, which, although they are characterized as sectoral, they also have a regional dimension, since a very large number of their actions include regions. And third, through the European territorial cooperation Interreg programs, which support the cooperation of businesses and bodies, other bodies, cross-border, on a cross-border level. Through these programs, the SMEs of the country can develop technologically, they can use research and innovation and technology. They have access to research for the establishment of new businesses or their development. They develop the skills and talent and profile of their staff. Concerning regions, each region supports its dynamic, its potential in entrepreneurship, and this also creates new and better jobs. It raises the attractiveness of the region. It focuses on its sustainable development. The statistic data for sectoral programs and specific tools will be analyzed by Mr. Siadimas, the Secretary General, and the CEO of the Hellenic Development Bank, Mrs. Papakirilou. But apart from these parameters, the main objective of political cohesion, social cohesion, and the PA is the lifting of regional inequalities, which is not only associated with financial data, since the focus on socially vulnerable groups in less developed regions is an extra element for the achievement of social cohesion. That's why we chose today the second session to focus on social cohesion in action. What does that mean in the PA context? It means equal opportunities for all, the eligibility of each citizen to participate in the common European future. We cannot talk about growth and development if this growth and development does not reach each neighborhood, each citizen. So within the context of each planning, of each project, within the context of PA, we focus on the human being, the citizen of the region, the young man or woman who are looking for a job, the citizen who are trying to find better services, because the final objective, the ultimate objective, is for the regions to be locations of choice. And an attractive region should be every Greek region, which should offer jobs, social services, and quality of life. So social cohesion means building communities where each and every one is together. They don't stay behind, either geographically or socially. That means that a child in the Aegean or in Thrace has the same opportunities with a child in Athens or in any other capital in Europe. Within the context of the PA for this programming period, with a total budget $7.1 billion euros within the context of the social fund, social cohesion fund, We aim at specific actions for this reason. We have also started negotiating the new budgetary framework for 2028-2034 at a time of specific and very significant geopolitical changes. The new cohesion programs are changing both in their planning and their implementation so that Europe becomes more competitive and more resilient toward new challenges worldwide. We should remind you that the social policy was created for a specific objective to ensure that European integration will not only include strong economically regions, but also strengthen the economy of remote regions, of small and vulnerable communities. Given the fact that regions in this programming period are very important. The ministry and the secretariat support and promote the important role of regions for the next programming period. We all accept that the regional and local level is the most suitable for the planning and implementation of policies and actions of social cohesion. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, we do need and we do support as a country a stronger, a more autonomous, a more resilient, and a more competitive Europe. However, competitiveness is not achieved in the long term and does not contribute diachronically to the development of the country unless it focuses on society, on the citizen, on the human being, unless it is planned through the values of social cohesion. Our secretariat, through the support of the alternate minister, Mr. Papathanikos Papathanasis, participates in current and ongoing negotiations with the European Commission with a specific plan, with cooperation, with belief in our values. The contribution of the alternate minister is very significant in order to achieve our objectives. Our country does not follow developments. It co-shapes these developments in cooperation with the other EU member states, so that Greece remains a country of social cohesion, of fair and sustainable development and equal opportunities for all. I would like to thank, apart from the alternate minister, the Secretary Generals, Mr. Skiadimas and Ms. Economou, for their extraordinary and excellent cooperation within the implementation of ESPA, the services of our secretariat for their professionalism, for the high level of work that they offer. Thank you once again for your presence here, and I hope you find interest in the panels that we organize together with the Hellenic Development Bank. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Pantelopoulou. And now I'd like to call to the floor the Secretary General for Management of Sectoral Programs of the ERDF, CF, and ESF, Mr. Vasilis Skiadimas. Distinguished Minister, distinguished Secretary Generals, and Director of the Recovery Fund, distinguished members of the European Commission, Chairman of the Managing Authority, executives of the PA, distinguished guests. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor for me to be here today at the event organized by the Secretary General of PA together with the HDB. The title of the event, Social Cohesion in Practice, is not simply a motto, but it is the footprint of our work. The implementation of the action plans and of our programs leads to tangible results for people, for the economy, and the environment. At the General Secretariat that I had, we are implementing 4 strategic programs with a total budget of 14.5 billion euros, with a specific goal to make Greece more competitive, more sustainable, and more resilient. We are therefore providing a multi-level mechanism of financial opportunities in order to improve the quality of life of citizens by providing financial solutions both to individual and holistic issues. For example, in the way that we finance a small hydraulic project in a small municipality in Greece, exactly in the same way we finance strategic importance programs such as the Ariadne project, which holistically improves the resilience of Greece's electrical system. Development begins with people and entrepreneurship, and this is implemented through the action plans of the operational programs, competitiveness, and human resources and social cohesion. Through the Human Resources and Social Cohesion Program, we are implementing the skills of the future, supporting the educational system and universities, primary and secondary education, and lifelong learning. Of course, I need to also mention the role of the program with regard to social cohesion with people at the center, with an abundance of funding to organizations such as the Public Employment Service and actions for children, families, and employment. Reskilling and upskilling is also another focus and very imperative nowadays because the world is changing radically. So training and education is not a single stage in our life, but is a constant process of development. At the same time, through the competitiveness program, we are supporting businesses by investing in innovation, research, and extroversion. We want Greek businesses to produce value, to create good quality jobs, and to compete on an equal basis with the international market. A characteristic example is the open call for the extroversion action, which is open until the 9th of October, which aims to increase the export footprint of Greece within a volatile and harsh economic environment. Also, allow me to say that the competitiveness can only play a role when it leads to a specific social footprint, and that is a key parameter with regard to the planning of actions. Entrepreneurship are key to this transition, and green transition is an environmental need rather than a luxury. The PECA program is the backbone of our strategy for a sustainable future. We invest, therefore, in energy transition with clean forms of energy, adaptation to climate change, focusing on prevention, circular economy, and waste management. Civil protection is also an integral part of this strategy. We support, therefore, prevention and readiness vis-à-vis natural disasters, making investments that save lives, both with regard to fire combating equipment and human resources. Also, through a modern road networks, ports, and airports, we reduce the distance, we connect people, a characteristic example of which is the recent completion of 90% of the Patra-Pyrgos road, which is a key project for the area that was financed through PA funding. Without sustainable transport, competitiveness or social cohesion cannot be put into practice. Social cohesion in practice means that nobody is left behind. Therefore, involves policies that lead to better quality jobs, a cleaner environment, safer communities, and a higher quality of life. Ladies and gentlemen, the 40.5 billion euros that are managed by our department are not simply figures, but an investment in the future of Greece, a commitment to the citizens and businesses and future generations. This is the real social cohesion in practice after all. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary General. And now let's come to the final speaker of our opening remarks, Ms. Ismini Papakirilou, CEO of the Hellenic Development Bank. Mr. An alternate minister, Secretary General, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure, it's a great honor to be with you today in the International Trade Fair of Thessaloniki in this very important event organized in cooperation with the General Secretariat for the PA, focusing on the support of small and medium-sized enterprises and social cohesion in practice. Through the close cooperation between all stakeholders, we can give tangible solutions and true opportunities to our fellow citizens and businesses, especially micro businesses and small businesses, which are a very significant lever of development for the Greek economy. This event also has another characteristic. It covers the full chain of funding, starting from the representatives of the public sector and the European Commission, the PA Group, representatives of banking institutions through which these actions are implemented, and also the beneficiaries, fellow citizens who have used our tools and will have the opportunity to talk about them. The Hellenic Development Bank today has a very clear mission to enlarge and to broaden access to funding, support SME enterprises, and support sustainable development. So we operate as a catalyst for growth and development with very tangible results. In the past 5 years, we've supported over 76,000 loans by activating resources in our real economy. And what is more important, we work as a multiplier by combining public and private funds from 6.89 public funds with the leveraging of private funds. We finally have over 18 million for the businesses. So at the core of our mission are financial tools which have benefited over 200 businesses, and over 73% are micro businesses and 80% have less than 2 million turnover. So we're talking about micro businesses, which are the backbone of our economy. So our tools and instruments are very flexible, very targeted, and with very favorable conditions so that they respond to the needs of the Greek society, especially for the market needs and for the more remote areas. They have a long period for payback, safeguards, and in some programs we also have co-funding without any interest. Now, 4.4 billion euros are available for businesses, and they cover all sectors for every business need. I will talk very briefly to the Entrepreneurship Fund number 3, which is the basic tool in the market with very favorable terms for funding and a budget that we increased, and we have reached 3.3 billion euros, a low cost of interest rates, and a lot of support. Within this context, we have the Fund for Micro Financing for small business people, for people who start from nothing, for people who want to make their first step, giving special emphasis to the support of women's entrepreneurship. Through all these projects that we've developed, we give solutions to the entire range of businesses, from the small family activity to an innovative startup. These tools are not just funding vehicles, they're also bridges of trust. And every time a businessman sees that they have an institutional tool that supports them, we win more than an investment. We manage to have trust in our economy, the belief that development is a reality. And the support of the Hellenic Development Bank does not focus on businesses. We have also developed programs of a social nature which address private individuals. So together with the business programs, our bank implements actions for private individuals, Upgrade My Home, programs which focus on the support of housing policies, and we implement them. So we have a project, My Home 2, with a total budget of 2 billion euros, which allows people to buy their first home with very favorable terms. Also, Upgrade My Home with a funding of 300 million allows people to improve their homes and also thus improve the life quality. And these, of course, also create multiplying effects to Greek society. Ladies and gentlemen, through our resources, we create a very holistic framework for support. Today, we have the tools for an economy with higher resilience, facing new challenges and focusing on sustainable development and acceleration of digital transformation of SMEs. Within this context, the Hellenic Development Bank will continue its work, will continue to develop new financing tools for businesses and households and cooperate with all institutional bodies, because we believe that development and social cohesion are two sides of the same coin. We cannot have a developed economy without social cohesion, and no social cohesion without a healthy and successful entrepreneurship. In closing, I would like to thank all our associates, all our citizens who support us, who are with us to talk about their successful experience. Every euro we spend will have an impact on the Greek society and economy. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Mrs. Papakirilou. And now we have come to the end of the opening remarks, and I think we have set the pace for our discussion to begin. So we are moving on with the second part of this event and the first panel, whose title is Strengthening the SMEs within the framework of PA 2127 and its contribution to regional development. I would therefore like to invite to the panel our very distinguished speakers, Mr. Vasilis Siadimas, Secretary General for Management of Sectoral Programs of the ERDF, CF, and ESF. Would you take your seat, please, Mr. Siadimas? The second panelist is Mr. Christos Kirkoglou, who is the Director General of National Coordination Authority at the Ministry of Economy and Finance. Mr. Panagiotis Pantazatos is the acting head of the unit Greece and Cyprus at the Directorate General for Regional and Urban Policy of the European Commission. Mrs. Sotiropoulou, Director of the Hellenic Development Bank, and Mrs. Irinia Geriadou, beneficiary of the Microcredit Fund of the Hellenic Development Bank. Welcome to you all. Thank you for being with us. So the goal in our discussion today is to highlight the decisive role of the national and European financing tools that support SMEs, which, as we repeatedly heard, is the backbone of the Greek economy. I would like to begin with the first question addressed to you, Mr. Siadimas. Could you please tell us how the sectoral programs of PA 2127 support businesses and make them more competitive? And how do they support social cohesion? And could you, regional development, I saw, and give us some example of actions that are currently in progress, what stage they're at, and how their future is being shaped? You can hear me now, I think. Okay. Our programs are focused on entrepreneurship. I'm talking about the competitiveness program and others. Let me give you some information because we have tangible results from these programs. First of all, 21,000 businesses have been supported. How? Firstly, through 7 targeted actions targeting green transition, digital transformation, the establishment of new companies, and there's also specialization for tourism, which is a very important industry for Greece. 13, let me give you the precise figures. 13,570 of these have received financial support. We are talking about business plans, which ask for 2.78 billion euros and finally received 1.36 billion euros. They have been also supported through the Hellenic Development Bank and the TEPIC 3, the Entrepreneurship Fund, number 3, with loans of 1.87 billion euros. The public contribution was 486,000 euros. These loans are on excellent terms and facilitate business funding. They have liquidity and the interest rate is low and the guarantee commission is 0. But let me help Mrs. Soteropoulou speak about that. We also have, through the entrepreneurship program, projects on human resources. There will be public funding of over 170 millions for 70,000 euros being given to unemployed persons in order to open up their own businesses. Some of the figures that are very important with regard to the first part, the 13,570 businesses, 36% are new businesses. And another very important figure is that 65% of those who dared, let's say, to submit a portfolio have been included in the PA, which means that this is a process that invests in the market overall and in many sectors. And for the future, we have the call for extroversion, which is the next sector that we'll be investing in. We have an open call of 200 million euros that can offer subsidies, 40% businesses in transition areas and less in other parts of Greece, to an amount of 200,000 euros. We are planning state aid for STEP for specialized businesses, and we're also planning another action that will help to improve the trade balance of Greece. This is also one of our goals. And finally, one more action in human resources with 37 million euros, with a similar call addressed to persons aged 18 to 29 who also receive a subsidy of 17,000 euros. I think all these programs are very focused and are working very well since we're covering the whole spectrum of the economy. Yes, that's very important. I think you were very clear and very brief, and thank you very much. Of course, we also need to focus primarily on the issue of extroversion, which is something very important for businesses in Greece and abroad. And let me now give the floor to Mr. Pandazatos. Support for businesses and strengthening of entrepreneurship are some of the key priorities of the European Commission, depicted in all the relevant PA programs for 21-27. At the same time, new directions, new priorities and prospects are coming about, investments in security, defense, along with the Competitiveness Fund. How does all this contribute to the goals of social cohesion? What is the position of Greece in a constantly changing environment? And to which sectors should funding be aimed within this new programming period? Competitiveness is one of the main goals for the European Union and the European Commission. It was, it is, and it will continue to be. in the mission letter of President von der Leyen to the Executive Vice President of the Commission, who is responsible for social cohesion, Mr. Rafael Fito, the President pointed out that a key goal for the future is to increase productivity, innovation, competitiveness, with the goal of achieving social, economic, and territorial cohesion and convergence. So, this is a key goal of the European Commission. Let me also remind you that recently, last year, in fact, we had two very important documents drafted on the European level. One was the document by the Letta Group of the former Prime Minister of Italy, whose main goal was the deepening and broadening of the internal market and preventing the fragmentation of the internal EU market. The social policy, let's not forget, has always functioned as a supplement to the EU internal market. Another document that was drafted last year and was very important was the Draghi report, which underlines the fact that competitiveness is an existential challenge for the European Union, and also speaks of the importance of the dual transition, digital and green transition, connectivity, issues of social cohesion. And it is a document also that focuses on the need to promote innovation, increase productivity, and competitiveness. The result of these two documents, thoughts, and discussions that followed on a European level were the new initiatives of the European Commission. One such important initiative was the STEP initiative for peak technologies, clean technologies, and biotechnology, aiming at technological independence, quote unquote, we would say, of the EU, technological autonomy of Europe, and the training of younger generations in new skills required over the next few decades. I would also like to add that the proposal of the European Commission regarding the new financial framework and the budget after 2028 is also part of the same framework, since we have the proposal for a new fund, the Competitiveness Fund, and proposals for the social policy, the cohesion policy, which speak about the importance of competitive companies into the future. PA is the key, we would say, driver for the economy and competitiveness, mainly the sectoral program on competitiveness, which is complemented by relevant actions undertaken by the 13 regional programs. It is a key driver also for the transformation of the Greek economy, so that it becomes more resilient, more competitive, and innovative also. So if we look at the current trends of the Greek economy, which are the result, of course, of the work done by the PA, we can see that we have very important positive results, an increase in jobs, an increase in employment in SMEs, which is very important indeed, an increase in the actual added value of SMEs. Also, important startups that have been created thanks to the PA resources and the competitiveness program resources, incubators, capacity centers, very important investments that have been made. The creation of the Innovation Agency and the upgrading of the Hellenic Development Bank are also positive results. Along with these, we also have important challenges and deficits also, because Greek companies present deficits in productivity and innovation still, since they do not tend to invest in entrepreneurial innovation. This is a major problem, or they have deficits with regard to new skills, which then we need to cover. So these are major issues that still remain open. And these should be the goals of our programs over the next few years. Another such goal should be increased spending in research and innovation. This funding has increased in recent years, but nevertheless, we're still lagging behind the EU average. Therefore, our results should be further enhanced. Also, another goal should be the further connection between the research community and market needs, so that we do not have research for research's sake, with the results only staying within the research center. That is also important, but what is even more important is to connect these results with market needs, so that this knowledge becomes commercially useful, turning into products that are competitive on European and global level. These investments in competitiveness are very important for the Greek economy and need to be further enhanced. We also need to support the sectors that have developmental prospects, and we have a major tool that precisely indicates which directions we should follow. The smart specialization strategy, for example, on a national level, with all its regional aspects. We know in each region, for example, what competitive advantages there are and what we need to invest in. Our goal is not to invest in everything, but to make targeted investments where we can achieve the highest added value. For example, the agri-nutritional sector is a very dynamic sector in Greece, and in recent years it is becoming stronger and stronger. I'm talking about processing also of agricultural food. So in this case, our goal should be to achieve a higher added value, to adopt modern nutritional practices and agricultural methods, and achieve upgrading within broader agricultural value chains. This is a very important sector for Greece, but we need to invest in areas where we can achieve the highest added value and have more sustainable effects. The same for tourism. We need to enhance the competitiveness of Greek tourism and make it more sustainable. A lot of economies, a lot of countries focus heavily on tourism. What is important for us is to try and be one step ahead of others and to improve our competitive profile. At the same time, trying to minimize the environmental footprint of the investments in tourism. So I've already mentioned the STEP initiative for peak technologies and cutting-edge technologies. We need to direct investments to these specific sectors, and I'm very pleased to say that Greece, through the modification of its programs and the competitiveness program, has already allocated major resources towards STEP and this new initiative. Also, right now, we're going to start talking to the managing authority, the PA General Secretariat, and the Hellenic Development Bank about the second wave of reforms and amendments to the programs, in order to see whether there are any further possibilities for these programs to invest in current or other new initiatives, such as, for example, developing our defense industry. So it's important to look at these investments as well. And I think that something that's going to be discussed in the next panel is the fact that we need to invest in new skills that our economy and the market needs. also actions of the various funds, the ERDF, the Just Transition Fund, and the ESF, in order to reverse the brain drain as much as possible. Could we please? Yes, just let me conclude with the financing tools and their use. We know our advantages, we know the tools available, and we need to continue our work in this direction. Yes, it's very important to develop these skills within SMEs. Workers need to have training on new technologies through reskilling and upskilling, which is key. So let's hold on to that. And now I give the floor to Mr. Kirkoglu, Director General of the National Coordination Authority. You have a full picture of PA 2127 in your capacity. Can you tell us in what ways these interventions are addressing the challenges mentioned, which are numerous, as has been said? And of course, depending on the status and profile, they need different types of support. How is this achieved?
Good afternoon. Thank you also for the invitation, for allowing me to participate in this panel. Let me say a few things before answering your question. Give an overview of the ESPA projects. I'm not going to talk about the types of projects that have already been touched upon by previous speakers, Ms. Dasiadimas, Ms. Pantelopoulou, but I will say, looking at the breadth of these programs, we can see that we have projects that include actions and interventions that are directed to many different needs of people and businessmen, from an unemployed individual who wants to start their own business, supported by a fund, to a well-off businessman who is willing to take more risks or to spend more money. But even there we have differences between the different supports provided, or the use of funding tools, as Ms. Papakirilou will explain. So this is a very mature stage in this programming period through these entrepreneurship actions. We have a great range of choices that meets different needs and different statuses of recipients and beneficiaries. Now, coming to your question, on the other hand, we see that interventions, and some of the previous speakers talked about them, they're not a simple action of entrepreneurship like we had in the previous programming period. As trends and needs developed at a European and world level, most of the projects in the PA have an orientation to the use of digital transformation, Greek transition. We have interventions with a special objective, let's say, for a fair development transition, where we try to serve a different type of model, not just a business development model there, for specific actions for the Peloponnese, for example. So we try to support dynamic sectors of our economy with specializations, a process where very specific sectors and subsectors are promoted and supported. So we have a change of the culture, entrepreneurial culture as well, which is also highly significant because it will continue to govern the entire entrepreneurship and business community, because the businessman will also have in mind that if I want to move forward with an investment, this investment will also have to take the condition into account, the condition of sustainability, or the condition of digital transformation. And also another element is the support, directly or indirectly, of brain gain, people who want to come here and work in high technology sectors that have been strongly supported because of the changing needs. Thank you very much, Mr. Sotiropoulou. Could you please explain how the Hellenic Development Bank supports SMEs through the PA programs for this programming period? What are the competitive advantages compared to the previous funding, and how you see their usefulness in the next programming period? Can you hear me? Yeah. The Hellenic Development Bank uses funding tools with the ultimate goal of facilitating SMEs so that they have access to funding. Let us describe what these funding tools are and how they focus to a specific goal. The Hellenic Development Bank, it manages either national funds through the Program for National Projects, or through the PA funding, and it channels these funds to the economy and thus supports entrepreneurship. Let us talk about the funding tools in a little more detail, which are separated into different broad categories. Guarantee tools, where we offer guarantees up to 80% of each loan. What does that mean? That we reduce the credit risk of commercial banks. So here we benefit SMEs in the best possible way, since the banks ask for no further guarantees. We also have co-financing funds. How do they work? The fund provides public resources without any interest, and in combination with the private resources of commercial banks, we manage to balance the interest rate, which means that the funding cost is highly reduced for the business. In many funding tools, we also can give some sort of grant with a sort of interest rate subsidy. And this means that we have a reduction of the funding cost. Now, to answer your question, how do we diversify from the traditional banking tools, funding tools, and also traditional supports? First of all, we have the favorable terms, as Ms. Papakirilou said earlier, which reduces the cost of funding. We provide guarantees, and at the same time, these extra guarantees are minimized, or in some cases, they're zero. Also, through the leveraging of banking resources, private commercial banking resources, and together with public resources, the outcome and the portfolio that is created is much larger. And finally, and this is for me the greatest advantage, is we have a re-leveraging of resources. We recycle resources coming from the payment of loans, of smooth payment of loans, and they are returned to the market in order to support new generations of businesses. So this is the major difference. So we don't just cover a banking deficit in the market, but we create a sustainable mechanism for support, which in the long term strengthens the economy. Thank you very much. And on what you said, and I'm sure Ms. Argeriadou who is the beneficiary of the support mechanism of the bank. Could you please tell us, first of all, tell us what sort of business you have and the whole process that you followed in order for you to get support, and if these funding tools that you got from the Hellenic Development Bank were used in full? Good afternoon. First of all, let me say that it's an honor to be here with you in this panel. I started my business in 2019 in this small town of Ceres. What sort of business do you have? I create handmade jewelry. So I created a space which offers joy to people and a style to people. After I established my new business, we had the coronavirus epidemic, and my only choice then was to have an activity on social media. In the beginning, I lost my words. I couldn't speak very well. I wasn't very communicative. But I had to move forward. I remember when they cut my electricity at home, and I had to sleep in my shop on a chair. I'm sorry, I'm very emotional here, but these were very difficult times for me. There were times when I had to choose myself or my business. You're very emotional. Yeah, because that was very difficult. I preferred to buy new things for my new products for my business rather than eat. So I had to work endless hours. I had to cut down on my time with my family, with myself. And the funding that I received was the time that changed everything. It helped me open a new store and strengthen my product, my stock. It gave me strength. It made me feel confident, and it allowed me to move forward. I have a shop in Ceres and one in a village, Dravisco, where I grew up. I'm also very active on social media. I have an increasing clientele, both from Greece and abroad, and I'm contacted by businesses to promote their products. I cooperate with many different shops, and I can see my dream growing. For me, the funding was the key that allowed me to transform a difficult time in my life to prospects, to development, and a future with bright light. I would really like to thank the General Secretariat for the PA and the Hellenic Development Bank for this wonderful cooperation. I would like to thank the Mayor of Ceres, Ms. Varvara Metlianga, my friends and my family who have already stood by me. Thank you very much.
First of all, congratulations. The way in which you conveyed to us the whole adventure you went through and how you started from point zero and got to this point really means that you deserve many congratulations, the people who supported you and the Hellenic Development Bank also who stood by you. I think that we all understand how these critical tools at vital points in our life when business people or potential business people want to give their companies a boost within a harsh economic environment, how these tools can be, let's say, a boost, a help, and provide a breath of fresh air for these companies. So do continue to support companies in need. Thank you very much to all the panel members. Now we will continue with the second panel, whose title is Social Cohesion in Practice. So we have the honor to invite the following speakers: Mrs. Katerina Patsogianni, who is the General Secretary for Equality and Human Rights; Mrs. Sofia Soteropoulou, who is the Director of Guarantees and Investments of the Hellenic Development Bank; Mrs. Christiana Costinescu, who is the head of the Greece and Cyprus unit at the Directorate General for Employment, Social Affairs and Inclusion of the European Commission; Mrs. Andriani Manoli, head of the Managing Authority of the 21-27 ESF Plus program on human resources and social cohesion; Mrs. Maria Sergidou, who is a psychologist at the Center for Abused Women; and finally, Mr. Vasilis Petrakos, who is a beneficiary of the Spitimu, My Home program, who will be talking to us today about his own personal experience. Mr. Petrakos, please come forward.
Ωραία. Λοιπόν, στόχος αυτού του πάνελ είναι να αναδείξουμε...
So the goal of this panel is to highlight the role of European financing tools in supporting social programs and supporting vulnerable groups, in promoting gender equality and securing the rights of citizens. Mrs. Patsogianni, I shall begin by giving you the floor. Welcome and thank you for being here. The General Secretariat carries out very important social actions such as advisory centers, shelters, the SOS 5900 also switchboard, which are all funded by the PA. Could you tell us about the impact of these initiatives and whether you believe that they should continue in the forthcoming programming period? And also, what other needs do you believe merit financing through the PA within your sector? Good morning, and thank you very much for the invitation, first of all. The General Secretary of the PA, Billy, has done us the honor to focus on issues such as domestic violence at the PA today, and this is a great pleasure and honor for us, and we are very happy to see so many women on the panel, particularly women who hold important decision-making center positions. Unfortunately, usually the percentage of women in these positions are not high, but we believe that it's important for these figures to be raised. It is a great pleasure indeed to be here on the same panel with Mrs. Christiana Costinescu also. Could you hold the microphone a bit closer? Actually, my voice is trembling, I think. Mrs. Costinescu has absolute knowledge of the programs and actions of the whole of the ESF, and she is indeed a very valuable ally to us, not only with regard to the implementation of the ESF actions, but also in relation to the development of the actions themselves and our own policies as well. So thank you very much indeed for your support and your help, Christiana. We also have with us Mrs. Manoli, I'm very pleased to say, who is faithful to her duty of correct management, proper management, and who helps us in turn very much in following the right steps towards implementation. Thank you, Mrs. Manoli, for always supporting us. we are going to be actually putting in place a very important program with Mrs. Manoli, which are neighborhood nannies. Domestic violence and violence against women is a major issue, extremely serious abuse of human rights. According to the law, the General Secretary for Equality and Human Rights is the ultimate body responsible for monitoring this program, dealing with it, and prevention. And it's also the institution which is recognized by international fora with regard to tackling this phenomenon by Grevio, by the European Commission, and by the relevant UN Commission as well. So within this framework, and according to the law, since we are the competent government authority for this issue, and for this reason, we have created a network for prevention and tackling of gender violence, combating gender violence. Within this network, ESF is our ally, supporter par excellence, I would say, and the PA, because through the co-financing of the ESF, we have managed to create a very important network that you mentioned earlier, the 15900 helpline, which is open 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And up to now, it has provided the services for up to 100,000 cases. A very important tool indeed for a policy that is quite difficult to address. Domestic violence, gender violence, violence against women is often invisible in the sense that many women do not speak out when they are victims of abuse, which means that this SOS helpline, since it is anonymous, impersonal, helps to raise visibility on this issue greatly. The 15900 helpline, the 44 advisory centers all over Greece, which have offered services to 60,000 women to date, who have come and received psychological and social support and free legal aid, help for housing issues. And there are also the 20 shelters for women who offer a home to women who have been the victims of violence and who are experiencing dire social circumstances and conditions, who are living under harsh living conditions, and they find shelter there with their children. Up to now, we have provided shelter to 2,500 women at these facilities and 2,500 children as well. So these structures have a very important social impact. And of course, we want them to continue to operate. They have contributed to raising awareness, both amongst politicians, the local authorities, and citizens as well, of course. They have highlighted also the importance of other gender equality policies and cultivated a certain consciousness regarding respect for human rights. And the collective data that they provide can be used as tools for the drafting of new policies on our behalf. So these issues are very high on the governmental agenda, and there's already a plan for including the majority of these structures within the state budget. We are in a continuous conversation with the General Secretary and the relevant competent ministries, and we have already begun the process of incorporating the majority of structures in the state budget. following the practices of other ministries of our government. Our goal and our plan is to further expand our services, actually. And since we participate in the National Action Plan, Women, Peace and Safety, we are already thinking about and have started the process of activating resources from the national plan that have to do with defense, women working in the army, in Peace Corps, who are at the front, at the war front. We also aim to continue the support and reintegration of beneficiaries, of women beneficiaries, and we are working on a proposal that we are going to put forward right away for the housing of women leaving the shelters and who need or who want to secure their life beyond the shelter with their family. And we will also be putting forward the implementation of innovative digital services that from now onwards should be provided through 15900, not only a phone call, but also offering the possibility of direct communication through AI even. And could you come to your conclusion? Yes. Yes, I'm sure everyone else on the panel has a lot to say. Thank you very much indeed, and sorry for taking up too much time. Thank you very much indeed. So let's change the order of speakers. I know you need to leave, Mr. Petrakos, right away, so I'll give you the floor first. Mr. Petrakos, you are a beneficiary of the My Home Spiti Move program. Could you please tell us your capacity first and how you benefited from this program?
Good afternoon. Yes, my name is Vasilis. I benefited a lot because we paid rent with my wife, and you know how rent prices soar. It was a great opportunity with Home 2. We bought a house. It was a very fast process, very easy, without a lot of red tape, because everything was forwarded and done through GovDR, the platform, the electronic platform. Were you trying for a long time to buy a house? Yeah, we tried through a loan from a commercial bank to do that, but it was not easy because we had high interest rates, and this had a low interest rate. I'm really very satisfied, and if people of my age can do that, they should take the loan. Thank you very much, and we wish you every success to whatever you do. I now come to Ms. Kostinescu. The European Commission has forwarded new priorities within the new multi-annual budgetary program and the new regulations. Please tell us how social actions funded by the European Social Fund contribute to achieving the goals of social cohesion. And given the reduction of the funds for the next programming period, what priorities should we focus on? And if you have examples from other countries that you can give us here.
Just open your.
It's better now? Okay,
yeah.
Perfect. So, Kalispera, first of all, let me say that I'm very happy to be here and with you in this panel. And very happy to be for the first time also in the Thessaloniki Fair. Now, I'm happy to also discuss with you not only about what ESF achieved so far, but also about what our future priorities should be in the future, in the next years. So I think it is fair to start by saying that the European Social Fund proved along the years that it is an essential instrument to economic growth, but at the same time, an essential instrument to ensuring well-being at society level at large. And we see more and more that competitiveness does work hand in hand with social cohesion, with social fairness.
Με την δίκαιη αντιμετώπιση των ανθρώπων και χάρηκα που άκουσα από τους προηγούμενους ομιλητές, από τους περισσότερους, ότι η κοινωνική συνοχή βρίσκεται στην καρδιά του μοντέλου ανταγωνιστικότητάς μας. Είμαι σίγουρη ότι συμβαίνει αυτό στην Ελλάδα και αυτό συμβαίνει απλώς διότι δεν μπορούμε να προχωρήσουμε, δεν μπορούμε να είμαστε πιο παραγωγικοί, δεν μπορούμε να γίνουμε καλύτεροι σε αυτό που κάνουμε αν δεν επενδύσουμε στην κοινωνία. Και αυτό εξακολουθεί να κάνει το Ευρωπαϊκό Κοινωνικό Ταμείο τόσο σε όλη την Ευρώπη όσο και στην Ελλάδα συγκεκριμένα. Φυσικά αναφερθήκατε ήδη συγκεκριμένα πράγματα για την Ελλάδα, αλλά επιτρέψτε μου να πω ότι το Ευρωπαϊκό Κοινωνικό Ταμείο επενδύει σε ανθρώπους από νεαρή ηλικία, από τα νηπιαγωγεία, από την βρεφική φροντίδα, από την ποιοτική εκπαίδευση, γιατί αυτό που μαθαίνουν τα παιδιά στο σχολείο είναι σχετικό και πρέπει να είναι σχετικό με την ζωή τους, με τις προκλήσεις που θα αντιμετωπίσουν στο μέλλον, διασφαλίζουν την ελκυστικότητα της επαγγελματικής εκπαίδευσης και κατάρτισης. Ο κύριος Πανταζάκος μίλησε για την καινοτομία. Πρέπει να έχουμε επενδύσεις, να διασφαλίσουμε ότι οι άνθρωποι έχουν τη σωστή χρηματοδότηση για αυτό που χρειάζεται και να κάνουν αυτό που χρειάζεται η οικονομία. Μας. Αλλά πέρα από αυτό προσπαθούμε να φέρουμε περισσότερους ανθρώπους στην αγορά, ιδιαίτερα επικεντρωνόμαστε σε μέτρα απασχόλησης και έχουμε απίστευτα αποτελέσματα στην Ελλάδα. Νομίζω ότι είναι ένα...
The biggest achievement we can really see and nobody can say we didn't do well. But still, we need to do more, yeah? We need to bring more women into the labor market. And I think the previous speaker and the agenda of my previous speaker is very relevant for that, because we need at the same time to empower women. And then what the ESF did, the European Social Fund did in Greece, is also, in few words, enhanced the social safety net, the network of the social services at local level, at community level. We have invested significantly in creating social service for all vulnerable groups, including the services that my previous speaker mentioned. We have invested in creating and developing a strong primary healthcare network. And we aim to invest even more, and this is what we should do, because especially in Greece, where we have so many small islands, small communities, where we are faced now also with demographic challenges, we need to continue to invest in our communities at all levels. And, you know, for a family to have children, yeah, taking the simplest example, what do they need first? They need first to have access to good quality education, health, and social services. You cannot decide to have children otherwise. You cannot decide to live in a certain community if you do not have access to at least these basic services. And all these investments are strongly aligned with what we call in our European jargon, the European Pillar of Social Rights, which is a simple list of 20 principles and rights, and this will remain at the core of our investments as well for the future. Let me say now, looking to the future, the member states were given the possibility to readjust, readapt their strategic priorities. And this is because, of course, we have numerous economic and social challenges, which I will not enumerate again, but yes, it's linked to climate changes, demographic challenges, the wars at the EU border, and so on. And this is challenges that are felt and primarily by our citizens and by our businesses. So what Europe tries to do now is to see together with member states where we can refocus our money, our funds, so that we do support as best as we can our economy and our citizens and our businesses to respond to these challenges. And this is why already for this programming period, in the framework of the so-called midterm review, specifically for the European Social Fund, member states can reallocate funds in the area of skills in the defense sector, in cybersecurity, in civil preparedness, but also for adaptation of workers linked to decarbonization of production facilities. Looking more into the future, to the new multi-annual financial framework, the Commission proposal already sets a minimum of investments in the EU social objectives. So there will be at least 14% investments in European social objectives, which equals to approximate 100 billion euros. Also, if we look to the general allocations in the package, in the economic, social, and territorial cohesion, we see that the budget proposed is equivalent with what we have now in the cohesion policy. So resources did not diminish, I think that was part of your questions, but the resources are rather reprioritized, reorganized. And there are some key core elements in this new proposal. First, we need more flexibility because we need to adapt faster to what is happening in the world. We need simplification. We need that citizens and businesses have clarity on what are the funds available and what are we investing in and what they can profit on. We need to keep close to us the partnership principle, yes? This means working together with private investors, working together with civil society organizations, and so on. We can advance faster if we work together, and we will continue to put emphasis on this. And then last but not least, with the new so-called national and regional partnership plans, we aim to target much better our investments to what is really needed. So I will try to close because probably I spoke already too much, but let me close by saying that in the future, the way I see it in general, but specifically in Greece, is that we will continue to invest in priorities that will remain. Some of them I enumerated, in new priorities that are emerging, like social housing. Yeah, we have earlier an example. And I'm sure we will identify new priorities, and this will be work that will be carried out by the Commission together with the relevant services to identify and adapting as fast as possible our priorities, our investments to what is most needed. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And of course, it's
Αποτελέσματα.
before that must be upgraded.
Και φυσικά είναι πολύ σημαντικό.
Thank you very much. Και προχωράμε. Κυρία Σωτηροπούλου, είδαμε και προηγουμένως, ακούσαμε με πολύ προσοχή τον κύριο Πετράκο, ο οποίος ωφελήθηκε.
Mr. Sotiropoulou, we very carefully listened to Mr. Petrako speaking about the way in which he was benefited by the Spitimu My Home program. And of course, it is a big challenge to find a good quality home in Greece and in Europe, where housing is a major issue. The Hellenic Development Bank has played a major role in this Spitimu 2, My Home number 2, and Anavathmizo to Spitimu, upgrading my home. These programs are both funded by the Resilience and Recovery Fund. Could you tell us about how these two programs are now operating, and the way in which potentially the HDB could support even more projects of this kind? So, as was mentioned by you very rightly, quality and affordable housing is one of the key priorities of the European Union and, by extension, of the Greek government. The Hellenic Development Bank is managing two financing tools, Spiti Mudio, My Home Number 2, and Upgrading My Home. The resources come from the loan scale of the Resilience and Recovery Fund. And I shall go into further detail regarding both of these. Spitimu Dio, My Home 2, is the second part of Spitimu 1, My Home 1, providing housing loans to private entities under very favorable terms, which means that there is a part that is interest-free that comes from public resources. As I mentioned earlier, we have our own financing tools and the equity of the bank, which means that the financing cost is very low. And this was mentioned also previously by the beneficiary who spoke, that compared to paying a monthly rent, the difference at the end of the day that one has to pay is very big, which means that this financing and these programs helps our fellow citizens acquire their first home. And this is the social footprint of this initiative, which is immense. Now, as Mrs. Papakirilou mentioned, the portfolio is 2 billion, and we are pleased to say today that we now have 500 million contracted already, which is very important. Now, in order to also speak about Upgrading My Home program, in combination with My Home Number 2, we are following a holistic approach, not only for people wanting to buy their first home, but also for the energy upgrading of houses that require this. The portfolio for Upgrading My Home is 400 million. Out of this, the Resilience and Recovery Fund is providing the 300 million. How is it doing? Well, the loans disbursed at the moment have exceeded 15 million. So the Hellenic Development Bank, as I mentioned, is following a holistic approach, both with regard to businesses, as we said previously, but also with regard to its social footprint, which is addressed using the financing tools aiming at individuals. Yes, and as we have said, basically you're helping people get a roof over their head, which is a dream of any Greek person who is starting their family or want to acquire their first home. Another beneficiary will also be speaking to us soon. Let me invite them to the panel. Mr. Frangos. Mr. Vangelis Frangos shall be talking to us in a little while about his own experience and how he benefited from these programs. Mrs. Manoli, now let me give you the floor. ESPA, the PA program, Human Resources and Social Cohesion, includes important actions for strengthening social cohesion. Could you tell us in total what these actions are, which parts of the population are benefiting from them, and how they contribute to social cohesion? Could you please turn on your microphone? Yes, we can hear you now. So, the Human Resources and Social Cohesion Program offers exactly what its title says. It aims at social cohesion. And how? By strengthening social integration. How is social inclusion enhanced? Through all aspects of society, that is, education, healthcare, long-term care, skills acquisition. So we begin with people at a young age, with children, by implementing actions within the framework of the guarantee for the child, actions for children of a lesser God in order to protect children who live in institutions and to promote the institution of fostering, which is something that never existed before in Greece, but we are very optimistic that it'll go well. Following the premises of the Social Cohesion and Family Ministry. We also have the inclusive education actions that we are very proud of because all children, even those with minor or greater disabilities, can join a class and proceed with their education. Recently, actually, we have had a call for 110 million euros for children all over Greece. We have second opportunity schools for people to acquire skills who are not able to complete their education so that they can receive a secondary school certificate, and other inclusive education actions for people belonging to special social groups. Furthermore, we have employment actions for young people who are categorized according to their educational level and helped to join the job market. Also for young entrepreneurs and for long-term unemployed and women trying to strengthen their initiatives undertaken with establishing new businesses. A lot of actions also are promoted for promoting access to primary health care, for long-term care, and for mental health. These actions are slowly being integrated. A call for 5 million has been launched, and very soon there's going to be a major change and a social impact through these actions, we are pleased to say, since this is the goal of the program. Help to the poor, those who benefit from the minimum guaranteed income, feeding schemes, 400 million budget has already been approved and actions have been included. And in early 2026, we are expecting a distribution of food products as well. Thank you very much indeed. And let me now give the floor to Mrs. Teriedou. You are a psychologist at the Support Center for Abused Women in the municipality of Kavala. Could you please talk to us about your experience and the services offered? Yes, good afternoon. It is a great honor for me to be here today and invited to this very important event and panel with excellent fellow speakers and Mrs. Patsoyani, whom I know personally. First of all, I would like to thank the General Secretary of the PA for this invitation and Mrs. Pandelopoulou for the support offered. I am deeply grateful to you, and that's the least I can say. I am very touched to be here. And Mr. Kirkoglu also, I would like to thank the Director General for the excellent cooperation and communication. We had a first meeting in July in Kavala and discussed these issues. So just a couple of words about the Advisory Center of the Municipality of Kavala, which is part of the Panhellenic network of centers, as Mrs. Matsuyani mentioned earlier. It has been in operation in 2013. I have the honor and pleasure to be the oldest member of the center. Let me just interrupt. I didn't mention the 300 people working since 2014, 2015, most of them until today, and who have such abundant experience in issues related to tackling domestic violence. We thank you very much for all your hard work as frontline staff. Okay. Thank you. Well, thank you very much also for your support, because without your support, we wouldn't be able to work in such an uninterrupted manner. So we've been open since 2013. The municipality of Kavala was one of the first to sign the Equality Charter, and that's how the facility was established. And in 2015, also with the Center of Research on Equality Issues, which provides the scientific and supervision, and with the relevant authorities. We have been operating continuously. I'd like to express the great concern of all workers for these centers to continue to exist. I studied psychology, and I find this center as a safe haven because I am so pleased to see how women are empowered by coming to this center. From 2013 to this day, we have supported 1,500 women who were the victims of violence and social discrimination. First of all, we had to overcome the stereotype and the taboo of linked to abuse. And we quickly realized that you are not alone, and break down the walls of silence were the most important mottos. We went out into the local society, and further, we were the first sent also in Greece to go to schools. In 2013, we have the first and largest action informing people about domestic violence. We spoke to 3,500 students about the legal and psychological aspects of domestic violence. And this action was awarded a prize by the RRF by best practice. We also presented actions at the European Conference to 150 women who are members of centers for the elderly about the 4 basic types of abuse that women may be subjected to. We created a strong network with local authorities in order to holistically support all women who comes to us. Another difficulty was during the COVID that we turned into an opportunity, because the advisory center and the whole network did not stop working, but actually worked on a broader basis by participating in the psychosocial helpline of the municipality of Kavala. For these women, we were number 6. They sent this number. They left their home, went outside and called us, and we were able to support us even during those times. If you asked me earlier, I used to say that prevention was key, but unfortunately we see that violence is rife right now, and that makes our role even more important. We want to have continuous training in order to be better and better so that we can support every person that comes to us. Another difficulty also is the psychological burden on us because of the, violence being, of course, a very tough issue to deal with. It is an issue that affects a large part of the population. Of course, this is a psychological burden for us, but the gratitude that we see from the women and the psychological support that we receive, we can overcome this. There is a recycling of strength, let's say. We give them strength and they give it back to us, and that is very helpful. And we can therefore consolidate social solidarity, which is key so that society can hope for a better future. So, in conclusion, I'd like to say that the benefit to the local community and the whole of Greece is exponential. This is a very strong networks. We have synergies with local institutions and national ones. The value of the network is extremely significant. Every person, I want to point out, who receives violence should not feel embarrassed. It is an embarrassment for society to not help these victims. And the 1,500 women that we saw and the 60,000 people have spoken to the helpline. This is only the tip of the iceberg, because violence takes place behind closed doors, and it's a responsibility of our women in the field to encourage victims to speak out. We don't want cries in silence. We want to support people without judging them. We respect people's dignity. Advisory services are provided one-to-one with specially trained people, respecting the will and dignity of each person. Finally, I have written down and would like to read to you what 3 women said who came to our advisory center. Often, when we conclude our meetings, they leave behind little envelopes and notes and thank yous. I think the words of the women themselves are very indicative of how they can benefit from these centers. To conclude, PA is not simply a financing tool, it is the people who support and implement the program, those who finance the program and the beneficiaries, which are many. A key tool for society and a main pillar of social cohesion. So, let me read out these 3 messages. Thank you. Thank you for being next to me without ever judging me. What you do with your heart comes back to you with love. And here I felt that you work with your heart. Anna. Thank you for supporting me in the most difficult times of my life. I can be myself. Eleni. If they ask me what my favorite place is, I would say the psychological support room. I live filled with optimism and dreams. Marina. Thank you very much.
Πραγματικά έχετε πολύ
You really have a very heavy burden with all this work that you're doing with these women, and this makes evident that funding and help these women rebuild their lives from the beginning, because they feel at some point that their life has come to an end, and you stand by them so that they open their wings again and become and have the everyday small miracles that we have. We started with the belief that even if we help one person, that will be a major victory for society. And let's hope that we're not going to have such phenomena of violence. This is what we should stress in this event. And finally, in closing this panel, I would like to give the floor to one more beneficiary that we have here, Mr. Frangas. Good afternoon. I would like to thank, of course, you for inviting us. We had been trying to buy a house for 10 years, but we never managed to buy a house. When we had the Home 2 project, that for us was the last opportunity. We contacted the bank. They were really helpful in every communication. And about 4 months after we got the eligibility certificate, we managed in 4 months to move to our new house, to our own house. And after we finished the Home 2, the same bank asked us to think about our needs, and they also told us that we could also use the house upgrading scheme. And now we are in our own home and in our upgraded home. Great. Thank all the speakers, and we have more beneficiaries among us. And you could also, after the end of this discussion, you could discuss with them, have a look at what they've achieved, and try to consider how you can benefit from all these tools that are so important for our societies, that promote social cohesion, that help businesses stand on their own feet, further develop and shine. Thank you very much, and I would like to close this event. I would like to call to the podium Ms. Vasiliki Pantalopoulou, the Secretary General for PAA, who can give us the conclusive remarks for this wonderful event. So we have come to the end of the joint event organized by the Secretary General for the PA and the Hellenic Development Bank. We're focused on issues pertaining to the support of Greek entrepreneurship and social cohesion, thus promoting the contribution of PA in the daily lives of the business world and the citizen. For SMEs, we heard from Mr. Schiadimas and the Secretary General. For PA, Mr. Kirkoglous, about how sectoral and business projects in the current programming period support entrepreneurship, extroversion of SMEs, and how actions of businesses contribute to regional development. We also heard from Mr. Pantazatos, representative of the European Commission, the significance of entrepreneurship and the new priorities that are put forward by the European Commission for entrepreneurship in the current programming period and the next one, like the STEP initiative. Also, within the context of shaping the new multi-annual budgetary framework, MFF, Mr. Pantazatos stressed the new competitiveness fund, wherein relevant discussions our country participates very consistently in order to support entrepreneurship within the context of social cohesion. He also talked about the objectives of Greece and the targets of Greece for development in research and technology, for the interconnection of the academic community with the market, and the balance between strengthening of the economy and environmental protection. We heard from Mr. Sotiropoulou the new tools that are offered to SMEs and how they support in multiple ways businesses, covering needs for their establishment and their growth. Also, the benefits to Greek economy through the leveraging of funding tools that create new resources that can be reused in the development policy of our country. Finally, I think we all found very useful and very interesting the experience forwarded by Ms. Argyriadou, who really moved us and described the way at a very difficult period of the pandemic that she received funding and the benefits that her business had from this funding. Now, concerning social cohesion, we heard from the competent Secretary General, Ms. Patsiogianni, that I would like to help for her presence here about how the PA supported the structures of equality and social and human rights and the combating of gender and domestic violence that was supported by the PA from their establishment to the present and the new needs that could be covered by PA. And she talked about the planning of very specific actions that we are looking forward to. About the same topic, we heard the experience of Mr. Yidou, an executive who works in women's shelter in the municipality of Kavala, and also the funding of this shelter, the difficulties and the huge benefits that all these centers give to the local communities in Greece. Ms. Kostinescu, representative of the European Commission, DG Employment, talked about the actions implemented through the European Social Fund and also research and development, the ERPF activities for families. She talked about access to high quality education and also actions funded by the sectoral program Human Force and Social Cohesion. And also she talked about the new programming period and the plans of the European Commission, who is now planning what social areas we are going to focus our funding on. Ms. Sotiropoulou talked about the social cohesion part of the bank and how it supports the very important social action of housing and the upgrading actions for young people. And this is very important. And this is the housing issue is a serious issue for most EU member states. In closing, I would like to thank all of you for your presence here today. I would like to thank the speakers, the Minister of Economy and Finance, Mr. Pierakakis, the alternate minister, Nikos Papathanassis, the Secretary Generals, Mrs. Papakirilou, the CEO of the Hellenic Development Bank, the representatives of the European Commission, Ms. Iraki, for the wonderful coordination of the panels, and all panelists for giving us their experiences. The challenge for all of us is to continue to build on this steady course of implementation of the PA, so every new programming period leaves a stronger social and economic footprint for all of us. Let us keep in mind the examples that we heard today as a driving force, and through our cooperation, we will continue our very committed work with the vision and strong cooperation. Thank you all very much.
Λοιπόν, εδώ ολοκληρώθηκε αυτή η εξαιρετική.
We have come to the end of this event. Thank you all very much. I would like to thank you for being here, the beneficiaries, the speakers, the participants who helped the event. And I would also like to thank the organizers for the honorary invitation to be the moderator of this